We got another special guest today. He's a 5-time NCAA All-American. He's a 4-time ACC champion. He's a 2-time Regional Athlete of the Year. He's the UNC school record holder, and he has a shot put PR of 21 meters 51. This is Daniel Mcarthur.
What's going on, man? How you doing?
Doing good, man. Enjoying my life.
Hell yeah, bro. Now, obviously, like you eventually went to the WWE after you got done throwing, but now you're like back into throwing and everything now. So, like, what was your experience like starting with the WWE and all that stuff, and then now being like coming back?
Dude, it was a very unreal experience. Honestly, like I had a different experience than what I felt like most of the people that came in with me did. I didn't watch WWE growing up. I was like the first one to say that. I was in a very different realm and acknowledgement of where I was at, where a lot of the people that came in, they're like, oh, I watched WWE when I was a kid. I know all the superstars. I know all their finishers. Like, I know all the history behind it. And I was just like, okay, I know Shawn Michaels. I know John Cena. The Rock wrestled here before he went to TV, right? Like that was my realm where I was like very limited stuff, right? Like, and I remember like being like my in the tryout and all that. Like, I met Triple H, and he was like, I was like, yeah, like honestly, my name's Triple H, Hall of Famer. I was like, honestly, sir, I don't know who you are. And he was like, dude, I appreciate your honesty here. I was like, yeah, like come from a very Southern Christian household, like stone cold drinking beers, flipping off the camera.
Yeah,
Like my dad wasn't letting me watch that. Like we're watching UFC, we got to watch Brock Lesnar fight, but like we didn't get to watch WWE because it's
yeah,
middle finger. But it was an unreal environment and a great thing that I did in my life, right? Like I'm very happy I did it. And it was one of those, like, I thought I was going to have a different outcome than what happened there and what like that process was like, but very happy I did it. And now getting back into throwing has been really nice because I felt like I left throwing with animosity and frustration. I was like, man, I'm done with this sport. Right. And then when I left it, when me and WWE parted ways, like I was like, I need to get back into throwing because I have always enjoyed it. I light up when I talk about throwing. It's just the right place for me to be whenever life is going bad. You get in the ring, those 2 hours, 3 hours of practice, everything else disappears.
yeah.
And that's a beautiful time. And it's a beautiful place to be.
What made you feel like when you first left before the WWE that there was like kind of animosity against it? You just feel like you could have done better. Like, what was it?
So my last year, right? Like I went 21-51 at ACC record, NCAA #1 going into the meet. Well, the week of the meet, I woke up that Monday and my back was just out of place. Right? Like by the time I was throwing and by the end of the meet, I couldn't bend over to pick up the shot put.
Oh God,
I
yeah, that's not good.
remember wheeling the shot put out to the car, and my coach was there coaching me, and I looked at him and I said, Coach, I can't pick this up, man. Like, I was in a brutal shape. Like I was just like, to be that bad physically at a time that I was like, I felt on top of the world, right? Like physically I was right. Like mentally, like prior to that injury and prior to my back being out of place, like I was like, dude, like I went 21-51 and I knew how much bigger of a throw I had. And I was like, dude, we're gearing up perfect. Like we're going. I was like, it's finally my time. Like I genuinely thought I was going to go 22 plus. I had taken the 15 over 22, 14 over 23. Like I was like, dude, this is my time. And then right when my time was about to happen, it just all plummeted. So, and then the mental goes with that.
Yeah. What did you have anything that like you like a lift or something you did to your back, or was it just like you just kind of woke up and it was like feeling the wrong way?
Dude, it was, I woke up the wrong way. And that's the thing that messed with me the most, right? Like that Monday, my morning routine was always wake up, stretch, pop the back, right? Because my freshman year, I broke my back in four places, had 2 bulging discs, and it was like, all right, like, how do we overcome this? And we got in a really good routine. It took me years to figure it out, but I was like, oh, I got it figured out. And it was, like I said, everything was building, everything was progressing. And then that Monday, my morning routine was to pop my back, stretch, and I couldn't get it to pop.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, this is a little weird. Like, I'll go to the chiropractor. Like, I'll get it to pop eventually throughout the day, which, like, I was like, all right, cool. So kept stretching it. And I was like, oh, it doesn't feel great. And it was like, we went to lift and we still tried to lift. And I was like, it just feels off. And then it just kind of like progressed and got worse throughout the week. And then I remember, like, NCAA wise, like, just couldn't get anything out of it. And then it was done. That Monday, it was done.
No, I about to say, in high school, I had L3, L4, and L5 bulging discs. So I understand, like, that shit is not, it's just, some days it'll be like you wake up and it's like, what did I do? Like, it just hurts. It's tight. It's different. We had, last year, kid on our team had their same thing, like, multiple times throughout the year. He would show up and he would just be kind of walking so, like, crippled. And it would just be like, oh, God. I was like, what'd you do, man? He's like, I don't know. I just woke up this way. But
no, I think it's funny. Me and Coach always joked about it. It was like he knew how good my practice was gonna be by how tall I was walking out to practice. If Coach Amin was about 2 to 3 inches taller than me, I'm having a bad practice. Like, my back's shot, like, everything's just short. And then when I'm feeling really good, I'm eye level with him. He's like 6'4", 6'5". So it's one of those, like, how good does my back feel and how tall am I going to be? And then it's like, how good is the throw going to go?
Yeah. No, but I understand that. And I guarantee it's like, it's good. It's always good to get a little time off. You know, it feels like a fresher going back in. So, like, how has your training and stuff been, like, since you came back from the WWE and done stuff like that?
Dude, honestly, like, I thought it was going to take me a really, really long time to get back into training. I was like, all right, like, hey, this is going to be a process. Like, the end goal is Olympic trials. Like, it's going to take us a long time to get there. But I saw really good success in, like, muscle memory came back so much faster. It was like, I think it was like my second practice back. I was like, oh, like, where I was at in my second practice was where I thought I was going to be at in 2 months.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, like, hey, like, we're not far off of, like, where we left. Just because, like, it wasn't like I went to WWE and was a lazy sack of bones and sat on the couch, right? Like, no, like, I literally got paid, like, in WWE, I got paid to work out and do cardio.
Yeah.
So, like, what was that
training?
Training's been going really good and has been a good, smooth transition.
What was the training like at the training center down there at WWE?
Dude, so the day-to-day, like, weightlifting wise, I think the JP is the head of strength and conditioning there, and it was Sean Hayes, who is the director of the XFL strength and conditioning. That's got to be the hardest job in the world, to be the strength and conditioning coach for WWE athletes, because it's not like you're gearing up and prepping for anything. You have a year-long season. You get no downtime. You got to be in peak form all year round. You got to make sure they look good. You got to make sure that they're strong. You got to make sure they're doing injury prevention. And it was like, that's got to be the hardest job. So in the weight room, it was 1 hour a day, every day. And it was kind of all that. It was a mix of injury prevention stuff while trying to get a pump in, while still trying to put out decent numbers. So we're still strong, but then we're working on stabilization things, because you got to pick people up over your head and, like, hold them there and, like, not make sure they drop on their head, you know?
Yeah.
So weight room wise, it was a lot. It was a lot different of a workout than what throwing is. And then for me, it was beforehand, I had a 2-hour in-ring session where you're doing a good amount of cardio. You're doing, like, freestyle wrestling, things like that, which is cardio in itself.
Yeah.
You know? So, and then it was about 2 hours of that, 1 hour lift, and then about 2 to 3 hours of open ring or extra ring where you're getting extra work in.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, I would say I know like Isaac real well, so he would tell me like the cardio and different stuff that just make me happening. But yeah, no, that's definitely like interesting, especially now. I went to they had like a little campus rush event the other day, and I went to, and like the season's all year. Like that's got to be that's just different for sure. But how
Absolutely.
long? You said like obviously when you came back to throwing, like you did started throwing really well. I've seen the videos on Instagram. It looks like it's going far, and how long like were you actually off of throwing since like whenever you ended to when you actually started coming back? Like how long was it?
Dude, it was literally the last time I touched a shot put was the NCAA meet in 2022. Right? So
Okay.
yeah, March, I think 12th it was of 2022, all of 2020, 2022. So about 18 months, 19 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hadn't touched a shot put, and then they touched it, and I was like,
Wow.
all right, this is where I was supposed to be.
Yeah. I was about to say that's a long time. And have you had any like meets or anything this year yet?
No, I'm holding off for outdoors. I fell. I don't know if you saw in one of the more recent videos I posted up, but like I fell.
Yeah.
And I did a number on my knee there. So my training's actually like been hit and miss for the past 2 weeks just because I can't really rotate on my knee. Kind of procrastinating going to the doctors, but have had a couple since then, and the days it's felt better, like the ball's been going. So I gotta reprogram just because these last two weeks have kind of been a setback. So about a reprogram going into a double day lift, double day throw for the next month and a half. Give it a nice good shot, and then kind of taper off. Hope to do a kind of a small meet here in North Carolina, maybe like UNC Charlotte or like Duke. I don't think UNC Chapel Hill's having a home meet, which sucks because I would love to go to a UNC home meet.
Yeah.
But I'll do that. I hope to go out to Tucson. Like I was thinking about Mount Sac, but I don't think I'm gonna make that trip. I'm gonna reach out to a couple of the other big throwers like Tunde, who's training. I think he's still at South Carolina, and kind of reach out to a couple 22-meter guys, see what their season's looking like, and see if I can possibly get in a meet with them, because I would love to see a 22-meter throw that's not my own in a meet before Olympic trials.
Yeah, 100%. And I was about to say, how do you feel about just this, the Olympic trials and everything being that the U.S. has so many throwers that are that good? It's like you said, you're going to need to see someone throw that far because it's definitely going to happen at trials and everything. How does that motivate you, and how does that make you feel going into it?
Dude, I think it's I don't know, to me it's motivating just because it's to be out there is a special thing. I don't know a lot about a lot of the other Olympic sports, but I would argue, and this is an ignorant argue, that the men's shot put for the U.S., it might be the hardest Olympic team to make this upcoming year. Because out of the top, usually the top 5, top 6 in the world, the U.S. has 3 of them.
Yeah.
We have Krauser, Kovacs, and then kind of our toss-up, right? You have Tunde, who got 3rd at World Champs, who swept the World Champs with Krauser and Kovacs. So it's all right, to make that team, but to even be in the conversation, right? I think with 21.51, then you got Turner at 21.8, Pip 21.7. Would be ignorant not to include guys at 21.5, or 21.4. Then you got Darrell, Peyton, Tunde. I think all of us are very neck and neck with each other. And I mean, I would even say some of us have a good off season, good preseason, and I think Kovacs looks like he's hitting it. But I would say that you would see a lot more than just 3 guys out of the U.S. over 22 meters. And I think that's just a special thing to be a part of.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think that, like you said, you brought up everyone that there's so many people that could get to that 22 mark that if you're not top 5 in the world, it's going to be tough to make the team. Which,
absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know. There's been a time I remember I think it was the 100 hurdles, the women. The girl didn't make the team at trials. She got 4th, and then she broke the world record the next week.
Yep.
So it was very crazy. So, but yeah, no, shot's definitely one of the hardest, no doubt about it. especially in the U.S.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. But no, and obviously you're talking about North Carolina, Chapel Hill, and that's where you ended up going. So what,
Yep.
coming out of high school and everything, what was your decision like? What was your recruiting process like to actually end up going there?
Oh, so I had a very interesting recruiting process. So I was a full ride kid in football at the NC State. Like that was my dream school. My dad played football and did track there, but my back slipped out of place. Great back of mine.
Yeah.
My conference championship game in high school, and then it was like, hey, like you're a walk-on kid, like you're pretty injured, you're pretty banged up. Like we want to see what you can do if you walk on and like earn your scholarship. I was like, all right, I don't think this is really for me. Like, which is funny because that's going to circle back around. Because then I did track. I won one state championship. I lost to Terrell Adams, who went to UNC Charlotte. But like I think I threw 59-11 twice. So like not a great high school throw where like depending on where you are, like that might be a respectable mark or not, you know?
Yeah.
But I remember like NC State had reached out to me again, being like, hey, like we want to like we're trying to recruit you. I was like, all right, cool. Like this is my dream school. This is where I would love to go. Like I said, my dad did track and did football there.
Yeah.
So like I'm going through that recruiting process, talking to Coach Wood. The head coach is Coach Geiger, which I'm like, he was the track coach when my dad was there in the 80s. And I was like, all right, perfect. Like everything's lining up. Coach Wood's like, we're going to offer you a full ride. Coach Geiger calls me about an hour after Coach Wood goes. He goes, Daniel, I don't feel like you're very dedicated to our program. Like, we're not going to offer you anything, actually. I was like, hey, sir,
wow.
I'm sorry that you don't feel like I'm that dedicated. I've slept with an NC State pillow, NC State blanket, and painted my room NC State red because I love NC State. But I understand that you don't think I'm that dedicated. I appreciate the interest. I appreciate the recruitment. I wish you the best of luck. And in that mind, I'm like, all right, like I'd already started talking to Coach Matters, and I had my official visit kind of lined up there. But like all my eggs, like my mind was like, I'm going to NC State.
Yeah.
When that kind of got ran off, I was like, Coach Matters at UNC. I was like, I didn't know a whole lot about Coach Matters. I was like, let's go on our official visit. So I went on the official visit, was there. I said, I am never losing to any NC State guy ever. Like, and signed to UNC and didn't lose to any NC State guy in the men's shot put ever.
There you go. Hell yeah. No, that's nice. As I said, there's always some stories with recruitment and everything. I was talking to Jordan West the other day, and he was telling me like how, I mean, he was literally, I think, was the SEC champion in the shot, and then new coach came in, they wanted to cut his scholarship, and it was just like, he's one of the best guys on the team. I don't understand it, but hey, what do you do? Because actually, you ended up going to North Carolina, and then while you were there, you ended up winning 4 ACC championships. So like, you know, what was that like? You know, obviously, you definitely had a chip on your shoulder when you got there from that story. So like, what was that like? You know, eventually just being so successful in North Carolina.
Dude, honestly, like I had 2 great coaches, right? Like Coach Harless Matters, who's now coaching at FSU. Like when I first got to UNC, I was like, Coach, I want to throw 60 feet. Like my freshman year, I want to throw 60 feet because I'd never thrown 60 feet in high school. So he was like, hey, like one, let's have a little bit more realistic goals. But second of all, 60 feet's not that far. Like, right. And he was like, he kept telling me, I was like, Coach, I just want to throw 60 feet. He goes, that's not that far. If you know Coach Matters, he has a certain voice about him. And I was like, it's really not. It's really not. So freshman year ended up going 62-8. And like, but ACC was a powerhouse that year, right? Like, I think I was like 16th in the NCAA at that time with my 1911, which is crazy to think about where NCAA's is now. Mm-hmm. But it had Philip Mihaljevic, who was a 21-meter guy, Pobo, 20 high guy, Austin Drugema, 20 mid guy, on the ACC competing. And it was like, all right, like if we're gonna score, if we're gonna be top 3, like we got to do something, right? So came out my freshman year, outdoor ACC's first throw 20-meter foul. But talk about a big foul. I put blew out the front of it.
Yeah.
There was no chance of saving it. like just wanted to make a statement throw.
Yeah.
So after that, it was like, all right, like we're a respectable thrower. We've gone 19-11. It wasn't like, oh, this dude is just kind of like not that great of a thrower. It's like, all right, like, hey, now I'm in the conversation. So coming in 19-11, but then Phillip graduates, Pobo graduates, Drewsma leaves, and then I was like, hey, like I'm the next guy up.
Yeah.
Like I've already made that establishment that I'm coming up. Like I'm the next guy that's gonna make a statement in the ACC. So after my freshman year, I found out that like I broke my back, I fractured my pelvis, and I had torn labrum in my hip, and I did a lot of damage to my hand, tore my flexor tendon, broke my volar plate in my hand and all that. So it was like, that was the end of my freshman year. All these injuries just compiled at the very end of it. And I was like, oh, so the original plan was for me to redshirt my whole sophomore year. We ended up redshirting, didn't touch a shot put from NCAA regionals up until about February of the following year. And I was just working back into practice in February. And my coach goes, we're going to throw. We're going to compete. Opened up 54 meters in the discus, 18 mid in the shot. And I was like, all right, like we're ready. But obviously I didn't have the reps under my belt. So my sophomore year outdoors wasn't that great. But I was like, hey, like I know there's a much better throw in me, right?
Yeah.
Sophomore, like junior year, but sophomore indoors rolls around. I had torn my meniscus in my knee week of a South Carolina meet. We drove down. My knee felt like crap. Like our bus driver was driving all over the road. I got motion sickness. Like, man, screw this meet. Like I'm over it. I'm not feeling good. My knee hurts. I PR'd, broke the school record. And that's when it was like, if I can do that with a torn knee, motion sickness, every variable that I had in my mind was against me, where I was like mentally like, hey, I'm down. And I went out and I threw 1978 that meet. And I was like, oh, if I can do this when I'm down, imagine what I can do when I'm high, right? Like, and from that moment on, it was that motivation, that confidence. I was like, if I step into indoor meet, if I step into ACCs, things like that, like it's mine. No one's going to take it from me. And at that point, it became like not me competing against my competitors, but me competing to see how good I could set myself forward. And then the ACC record really was the goal from that point on, right? Like, so I won first ACCs. I think I won it with 19-9 at Virginia Tech. Second ACCs was Notre Dame. That's a hard ring to throw in. But it was one of those, like, I think I kind of knew that one was more of a shoe-in for me. Didn't really have a whole lot of people pushing me there. It was like, all right, like, hey, like just come out and execute an easy throw. Like I was already a first team All-American. I was a 20-meter shot putter and I'd gone 20 meters again that season. So I was like, all right, just put a throw out there. And that ACCs, I think I was the most nervous about. Truthfully.
Yeah.
That the second time of defending a conference championship, it was like, I've already won. The only thing I can do here is lose.
Yeah.
Right? Because expectations kind of like go out the window and you're just like, I've won a conference championship. And to me, like ACCs was a big deal, right? Like it was like, like we need to make a mark and we need points for our team. And it was like, all right, we've already won one. The only thing I can do here is lose. So I think to me, like that, my second ACCs was the hardest one to win. After I won the second one, it was at Clemson, the following one, and that was during COVID, which was crazy in itself, right? Everyone's throwing in masks, like things like that.
Yeah.
That was, to me, I think the most important one. Because that was the one I broke the ACC championship record. I don't think I broke the overall record. I broke the championship record, which was like very exciting for me. I was ACC men's MVP of the year, or like field MVP of the meet and things like that. So like I'd gotten the ball rolling on that one. And then the last one was just me going out there and having fun. Right? Like the last one was like, all right, I already have the ACC record, overall record. Like, cool, man. Like I've done it. I'm the old head here. I'm very old. Like, this is my farewell. And it was like how good can we go out? Which was actually really funny because to me, like, that was my meet in general was great. Like, it was a fun meet. I had fun with it. I threw the weight, and I've never thrown 20 meters with the weight. I've thrown 19 and I've thrown 21 meters. I've never thrown 20 meters. So going into the meet, I think like I practiced the weight very little. I never liked it a whole lot. It was just something fun to do. It was like, yeah, I'm strong. I can throw it around a little bit. Like, not like Peyton can like, from a 2-turn. And I remember going out there. I was like, threw like 19 in the weight. And I was like, I'm not going to go make finals. So I went and had me a hot dog. You know, sitting in the bleachers with a Diet Coke, just watching the second flight go on. And I was like, oh, we're in the third row. I'm going to make finals. I'm not going to make finals. We had 2 guys from UNC in there. And like, there was a couple other guys that like were inching away. I was like, they're going to get the job done. I'm not going to make finals. So I'm sitting there. I'm on my second Diet Coke at this time. And then the flight ends. I'm just like, oh, I am in finals. I get up to go run down and instantly cramped. And like, I'm about to fall down the bleachers. And like, I don't even have my throwing shoes on. I look at my coach. My coach looks at me and goes, what do you need? I said, I need water and I need all the time possible.
Yeah.
Right. So he looks at the official and he's like, we're going to take all 20. He goes, I think we're going to give you 15. I was like, that's fine. I'll take 15.
Yeah.
I didn't touch the weight the whole 15 minutes, I don't think. I think I just sat there stretching, trying to warm back up and not cramp and get as much water in as I could. And then it was like, bad throw. It's my 6th throw. I'm sitting in I think I'm sitting in last at this point, like of the finals. I'm in 9th. I'm like, let's just put one out there. Like, I'm not a weight thrower, but like, this is the last one. Got the clap going. We were digging it. 21-18. I got 4th. So 21-18, good throw in the weight. I was like, all right. But I started cramping. I had a couple Diet Cokes in me and a hot dog. I was not feeling good. And I'm all sorts of jacked up at this point. Going to the next day, we have men's shot. Still jacked up. I'm like, I'm not feeling like I'm still struggling from that men's weight.
Yeah.
But that one was a special moment for me. Like, my dad got really sick when I was in college and was fully handicapped. Only was able to come to one college meet for me. It was my very first one. One of my first meet. My brother put him in his wheelchair and drove him up to Virginia Tech. So it was a very special moment for me. I had all my family there. Like, we got the clap going. 21-51.
Oh yeah.
Special moment.
Hell yeah. I was about to say, especially your last meet, you had some good adrenaline and everything there. That's awesome.
Exactly. Last ACC meet, man. It was the motivation that kind of helped carry on was how great could I be at this thing?
Yeah. 100%. And obviously, like, I had the back injury and everything. Like, what specifically did you do, like, in training in those months in between, like, getting hurt and everything to try to actually rehab your back and stuff like that?
Yeah. So that's actually kind of funny. All your ATs and PTs and strength and conditioning coaches might disagree with this, but this is what worked for me. Mm-hmm. Like, when we found out about my fractures and my bulging disc and things like that, they're like, you're on the shelf for 9 months at least. Like, they even came up to me. They're like, Daniel, we medically retire people with 1 back fracture. You have 4 spondies on your L4, L5 going up. I was like, okay, I'm not going to medically retire. I was the #1 true freshman in the nation. And it was like, can't medically retire, right? Sat, did nothing for 9 months, and it was the worst 9 months of my life. Like, my back got incredibly worse, hip got worse, things like that. Like, nothing we were doing, like, rehab-wise was helping, because it's like all the strength I had that was holding all the fractures together just dissipated, and then it, like, everything started to shift even more.
Yeah.
So the big thing that helped me with that was, like, getting back in the weight room, lifting heavy. Like, and I know that's kind of the exact opposite of what they tell you to do, but I had to rebuild a whole lot of strength, and I had to rebuild it quickly, and I had to get after it, right? Like, because I was already 9 months behind, and I didn't even know I had a back injury. I thought I just had a hip injury, and then they did the back MRI. So it was like, from that, we progressed into a lot of other things, But the biggest thing for me in my back injury was getting strong again. I had to do squats, but like mobile squats, right? I am like not all the way to death just because I don't have it in my low back to maintain that anymore. But like we're going quarter squats, we're going 90 degrees like from hamstring, not 90 degrees from quad. Right. Like I think that's a big important thing that like a lot of people don't do just because they're like, oh, I gotta go 90 degrees, I gotta go ass to grass. And it's just like, why? I'm never in my throw, I'm never gonna be ass to grass. Why would I go that low on my squat? So it became a like, how do we get strong? And then how do we get strong for throwing specifically, not just like strength and conditioning throwing. Like you watch my form on a lot of my stuff, my explosive power cleans, I don't have great form, but it's great form for what I need out of it.
Yeah, you need the explosive part of the
exactly. Yeah. I don't need my elbows all the way through. I don't have the lat mobility. I don't have the tricep flexibility, things like that, right? Like these coaches that are like, oh, mobility, you got to do this all perfect. It's like, dude, I'm never gonna break my arm, or let me knock on wood on that one. But like, I'm never gonna be in a bad serious injury by catching a clean here because I'll just thump it. It doesn't mean that much to me to catch it. Yeah. Right. So it was like doing a lot of that, but people don't realize how much core brace you need to have to like actually shelf the clean here versus all the way here, right? Like, and it was building that natural strength and relearning what I needed out of my lifting.
Yeah, I was about to say that was definitely different. I did all types of rehab and like add different stuff for my back, but yeah, it always is different stuff for different people and everything. And obviously working like those, avoiding the lower part of them squats and everything, it's like definitely a good idea with the back like that, because it's just something, it just puts so much pressure there that it's like, it's just not worth the risk, I guess, at that point.
Absolutely.
100%. And obviously you said like the last one is definitely probably your favorite one, but also like you also were a 5-time NCAA All-American. So like, do you have like a favorite national meet like over your years that's like you remember?
My very first one. I think I came in like 12th or 13th. I was never supposed to be in the meet. I was one of those bottom end guys that was like, oh, like maybe making a final is going to be cool. I had never thrown over 20 meters. First 3 throws, 20 meter, 20 meter, 20 meter. And then my next 3 throws were PR, sector foul, PR.
Wow.
I was like, I can't ask for anything more. Like, I came and I did what I needed to do. Right. And it was one of those, like, I shook up a lot of things from that very first NCAA meet just because, like, a lot of guys didn't know I was coming.
Was that the one in Birmingham?
Yeah.
Heck yeah, I remember I was up there in the stands for that one. I remember that one.
Yeah, that was a fun one.
I was gonna say, was that the year Peyton went 21-7, like first throw?
Yep.
Yeah, I remember being up there just like, wow, I don't think anyone's gonna go 21-7. And he was the first thrower of the flight too, so it was like right off rip, but.
Absolutely. And I mean, like him doing that, like in that meet, kind of like, I think that helped me throw farther because it was like, oh, he's on it. Like, let's get on it. Like, you know, and it made me excited. And it was my first NCAA meet in general. I was the only person from my track and field team that was at that meet. I had to think back to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was the only person that qualified. So it was me, my coach, and my athletic trainer, and that was it from UNC. And it was a special moment. I remember talking. D-Haw actually came up to me after my throw. I was like, "Hey man, that was a hell of a throw. Like, good job." Like, and then Cord as well. Like, came up to me after the throw and was like, "That was a good throw, man." Like, it was the acknowledgement of kind of people that I had looked up to, because like, I mean, I was naive. I didn't really know about track and the people in track up until my like freshman year, and then like D-Haw's hitting Cord's throwing 20 meters from a glide. Like there was people that like I had looked up to, and I had watched a lot of Peyton's throws and kind of like was watching what he was doing, trying to see what I can incorporate, and talking to Peyton in that meet, and then be like, "Hey man, you're doing good." So that was that was probably why that's one of my favorite.
Okay, no, that's always nice to hear that from people like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that was that your like sophomore year after you came back from the injury?
Yep.
Heck yeah. No, so you came back. Did you have a year in between that, or was it just basically like indoor season?
Yeah, so that was a year in between. So that was actually my
Okay.
junior year of school, but sophomore year of competition.
I got you. Did you get a medical red shirt or something with the back injury like that, or how did all that work?
We were supposed to file a medical red shirt.
I see.
Yeah, so that's how the school politics goes, right? Like everything's in conversation. It's like, oh, we're going to medically redshirt because then, like, what if we want to redshirt you later on? But then I was like, oh, well, we can redshirt you now, and like if you need a medical redshirt later on. But then COVID, the NCAA system in general is a interesting one to say the least.
Yeah, I would say we had someone on our team last year that had some. It wasn't as serious of an injury, but it was enough that like sprained an ankle and did it again. And it's like if they would have filed it then, it would have been. But hey, what do you do? But you were talking earlier about coaches and the clean and stuff, and I was looking on your Instagram and I saw that you're doing like personal training and stuff.
I am.
Is that how you're like making money right now to do the post collegiate stuff, or like what all type of stuff are you doing? And like I'm also trying to get into personal training. So like, what's that been like for you?
So right now, like I'm doing some personal training, but more athletic development for like youth athletic development at the gym. Like that's what we kind of specialize on. That's been a great like transition for me. Like just because I wanted, the reason why I ended up doing it was I was like, if I'm going to fully commit to throwing, I can't go sit in a 9 to 5. Like if I do a 9 to 5, I'm done.
Yeah.
Right. Second of all, like I needed to be around an environment that promoted my mental stimulus to still be like, hey, like, you know what? I'm critiquing these kids athletically. What can I take away from this? And it's like that constant thinking of athletic improvement.
Yeah.
Maybe not for myself, but for kids that then like kind of like subconsciously gets applied even into my own training. Right. So that's been a great avenue for me. And like, that's kind of where I'm supplementing a lot of my money from, just because like I didn't throw in the 2023 season. There are throwers that I've thrown farther than that are getting USATF funding and tier 1 ranking and things like that I sadly missed out on.
Yeah.
I feel a little bit of a type of way because I emailed them. They're like, hey, you missed the deadline for this. I'm just like, okay, but I throw farther. Like I've thrown farther, but like, no, like everyone on the tier 1 funding, like they deserve to be on there. I just wish I could have gotten on it.
Yeah. No, I was about to say, I had on Coach Tom, and he was talking about like the ways they give out those things, and it gets politics and stuff. Different types of things and everything. But I've felt that before, like in high school, like coaching like other kids on the team throwing. Like, I would say something to them and be like, I need to do that. Like that's something that I needed to do. So like, how long have you been doing that at the place, at that like gym, wherever you're doing it at, and like what lessons and stuff do you like think you've learned like from stuff like that?
So I started there, I think at the end of October, started November, kind of like in that transitionary phase of WWE. But I did track and field camps and all that like every summer when I was in college as well. So like it's not super, super new to me. But I would definitely say like the stuff that I've learned from there is kind of like simplicity of kind of movement, but also like good, unique things that like, hey, like I don't always have to do a heavy clean. I can do a nice little like, if I want a little bit more of a rotational exercise, do a power off, like pull from the side, but then hit a kettlebell clean, like different variants that I can add into my own training, like lifting wise. And then learning, like I had the great opportunity of going up and speaking to Bill Parisi, who's one of talking to him, who's massive in the fascia development. And he gave me a book about fascia training, which is a which is a organ that lays over all your muscles throughout your whole body.
Okay.
And it has 10 times the proprioceptors, 10 times the motor neurons, and power output than what your muscles can have. But it is a very small window that you can use them, and it takes longer for them to recover.
Mm-hmm.
So reading his book, talking to him, talking to like a German, like he's talking to a German scientist, things like that, like listening and absorbing that, like my warm-up has changed a whole lot, like my lifting has changed a whole lot, like, and with my warm-up critiques and like tweaks that I've made from learning about fascia has been incredible for me actually throwing wise.
Do you remember what the name of that book is?
Actually, I might have it in here somewhere. Yeah. Oh. Let me pull it up.
100%. Yeah, because I would say I'm a kinesiology major, so I'm super into stuff like that.
So this book has been incredible for me. Like just learning on how to increase my fascia development and like maximize power output through that. And then like muscle wise, I was already a very big power output guy.
Yeah.
So it's just helping increasing my movement.
Heck yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm about to say, because I've figured out, like, a bunch of people I've seen here, like, the type of training I always did in high school would be more like just kind of getting stronger in types of ways, instead of really focusing on the power and doing the stuff faster and different things. And that's something I really like, kind of want to get doing, especially these next few years.
Absolutely.
But 100%. All right, man. I really appreciate you coming on, man. It's been a good talk. I appreciate it. And do you got anything, like your personal training thing? You got anything you want to promote, your Instagram, TikTok, whatever?
Yeah, if anyone ever wants to follow me, if they want like throws coaching wise, like if you want any advice, I was a decent thrower, shot put, discus, and weight throw. I'm creating a throws club. It's in person, but like I also do online coaching. It's MTS_throws club. And then my personal Instagram is DMAC_Mcarthur. Feel free to give me a follow. I try to take myself seriously, but most times I'm just a big goofball. So you might see me on there like smoking a nice cigar, enjoying myself a nice little bottle of bourbon. But most of the time, like I try to take myself a little bit more serious. And then TikTok, DMAC_Mcarthur. That one I'm a little bit more goofier on too.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, man.
All right, man. I appreciate you coming on.
Absolutely. I appreciate you having me. This was great.
Yeah.